Okay.
Concede a bit. Since he gave us permission to work on it longer than an hour, he'll work hard for an hour's worth of labor off and do a 2-hour charge.
No, it's not enough. Is he here? Cool, thank you.
TM design things that the two American bolts down there. Oh, and nobody's making the two Lincoln bolts.
Hey, Nate.
Hey, what's up? How are you?
Good. You want to take a couple minutes, have a conversation?
Sure.
Cool. I don't here.
Just regarding the service?
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked to Craig about it.
Yeah, well, he said you came back with, I guess, a counter of swallowing 1 hour out of that.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, to me, it's actually not acceptable.
Okay.
Truth is I came in with a specific request. I mean, and I don't think I should need to point out, but I'm going to. I've put over about 20 grand in this dealership, and I've given you a whole lot of service, and I know you don't make money on the sales of bikes.
Right.
You make it on your service department. You got my whole KTM rack, you got that whole thing. My fork seal was bad, not even 100 miles later. I knew the answer was going to be, we're not going to do it. You know, warranty it, fine. And then I have this situation. I spent time bleeding with no air compressor. And I'm competent at bleeding systems, okay? This wasn't rocket science. It's a pretty straightforward system. Truth is, I asked to have it bled because I knew you guys have an air system and it should have been easy peasy. Hence why I came after an hour.
Right.
They didn't come to me and say, we're having problems, we don't like this, we can't do it, we're incapable. Which should have been the proper answer, or you should have refused doing it in the first place. It was, hear me out. It was taken in, it says bleed, brakes, and clutch. It doesn't say try to bleed, brakes, and clutch. It was handed to me worse than when I drove it here. I got home, spent a half hour at the lever, being extremely meticulous, and worked it. I have a perfectly working clutch, and it was only done from me working it at the lever, and I was watching air bubbles come out. Okay, and it's fine since then. I haven't touched it. My clutch is fine.
So there's no special button to push or
No,
any,
sir.
so none of that, so
No,
what
sir.
the guys in service are telling me.
What
where you-
special button are they talking about? First off, I was then told today, and you'll see, this is insane. After I said, first off, he stripped my screws. There's no, the cap screw on the brake reservoir, it's stripped. And I know he had problems. He said he kept getting leaks, so he's trying to tighten it more. I know that because it's stripped. When I went back to it, I know what I do, and I know what I do is a lot of MacGyver shit, but I'm also OCD, so I have like a focus. I know they were fine. The bleeder screw is stripped. Okay? Then Craig tells me today that Todd even said that he had to find a screw for me because it was missing one when I came in. How could it be missing one when I drove the bike here? And the fluid on my windshield, that wasn't from me driving it here, it was from me being at home going like this and the shit squirted up. I came here with a working clutch that I just had to flick
Okay,
back.
you know,
Yeah.
you're obviously passionate about it, I
I'm-
get it.
Yes.
I'm gonna write you a check, that's totally fine.
Okay.
Um,
It's on my Discover, you don't wanna just, can't go
Well, we
credit for
can
that.
credit your Discover card, that's
I
no
prefer
problem,
that.
and that's no problem, I mean,
I have
we-
a good relationship with Craig and here, and Joe was good, and I want to go to somebody who knows more than me when I need help.
and we do, we have
Yeah,
never
so-
seen, and probably 5 people in the country have seen
Yeah.
brake clutch
I get it.
get, and that's fine.
A lot of people
It-
might
it'll be-
want it though, because it's a hot thing that's picked. Yeah, you haven't seen it, but trust me, it's been installed and it's been super functional. It's already heading into some of the
All I can tell you
motos.
is, and I appreciate where you're coming from.
Yeah,
I will stack Todd up to
Okay.
any mechanic,
right.
anywhere in this country,
I took.
as far as abilities. Okay,
I
let
can
me
show.
finish.
I get you, but in defense of Todd.
Can I finish?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
So, when we're coming here, you're having us do a simple bleed system.
Right.
I will bet my dealership on the
Mhm.
fact that he is plenty capable
Mhm.
of doing a simple bleed
Okay.
with a motor vac bleed system.
Gotcha.
So, I would love to go back and talk to these, because I'm third party, I don't know every
Right,
single detail.
Right. Right.
Having this conversation with service where they said, well, what about there's some directions where they had to, there's pushing, you take an access plate off, and you push this
You know,
little
you see,
button.
now this is the thing. After I left and was handed the bike, I went back and worked my clutch. Got it. I was emailing this owner, the builder of this thing. And I said, do you know I just spent blah, 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 and they said they couldn't do it. He goes, I'm absolutely certain there's air in the system. That was even before I went out and played with the clutch, got it working. I went back in, I said, okay, you know, I've got the clutch. He goes, I could show you, I got 50 email chain from this guy. He's awesome, but he's a dipshit businessman.
So,
But point is, what he asked me to do, he goes, I have one simple way to prove there's air in the system. Take the cover off, push the brake rocker, and if it moves more than 0.5 millimeter, there's air in there. It's not a method to bleed it. You never take the cover off in the bleed. It's just a way to know it's not bled.
so with a mighty back, with a guy that's probably
Okay.
led literally hundreds, and he,
Okay. I can tell you what my guess is. I don't know what his. I could tell you what so far about 50 of my guys on my 1,000-member forums already are saying. You know,
and what's that?
most of them are saying that all he's used to doing is what's by KTM specs, and once it's out of the box, they become kind of like they're following the KTM protocol. Did he take the caliper and push the piston in? Is that part?
I can't speak
Yeah,
to
and
what
that's
he's
the
done.
here why, and I don't have a direct answer. I understand what you're saying, and I wouldn't have bought the bike here if I in any way thought I was better. Why would I come here and spend money when I can obviously screw shit up?
So-
But I went home, Nate.
And just did this,
Yes,
and it
sir.
suddenly worked, whereas
It
before.
wasn't
you did this.
suddenly. I watched it activating. I opened it all the way up, like even the simple little baloney instructions. I cranked it all the way open, and through the whole range, I just meticulously wiggled and worked it. And I was looking for sweet spots, and I saw air, tiny minute, and I worked, and I sat there, sweated for a half hour, put the thing on and went like this, pop, and I've been riding it ever since. Clutch is fine. You've never seen a nicer clutch. And the brake lever activates it, so that works, because, but I got my brakes all the way pulled in here. So, he's telling me that you really need to work the piston because there's probably air in the piston, blah, blah, blah. So, and his answer was, if all they did was throw it on a vacuum bleed.
Well, they didn't just throw it on a vacuum for 3 hours and do the same thing. I mean, there's
Yeah, well,
lots of maneuvering, holding the
Right, so
thing
I don't
down,
have the
vibrating
solution.
the lines, I mean, all kinds of stuff. So, I understand, but so in your opinion, as you know, we put no energy into it, we did nothing for it.
Well, no, I couldn't say that, but in the same token, for somebody who runs and owns a retail business and is a buyer for 5 stores central in the Missoula area, I mean, we have, you know, it's the living room furniture. I'm in the administration of that. $320. In good faith, I walked in to get a service performed. My bike was handed to me in worse condition than I drove it with, none of what I wanted completed. There shouldn't be a charge. It's a service, and the no I understand you have a labor rate, but I didn't say please spend 3 hours on doing something. I said I want this performed. It would be akin to hiring a roofer who works by the hour, and he shows up to do the roof and walks away after 8 hours with a hole in the roof and says I did the best I could, but you owe me for 8 hours. It doesn't sit right.
It's okay, that's fine. I mean, I get where you're coming
Yeah,
from.
but
And I guess for us too, you know, we appreciate, it's not that we don't want, obviously, it's not that we don't want people service, but at the same time, we are experts in what we do,
Mhm.
but now with the internet, there's every Tom, Dick, and Harry in a garage whittling whatever, and oftentimes we get a box of shit thrown together, and we've got to make it all integrate and work, and
I believe you.
maybe we need to,
I believe you.
we need to reevaluate what we're willing to work on, when we're willing to work on it.
I think
guess
that's important.
You know, because,
Yeah.
you know, in the summertime, it's pandemonium chaos here.
Mhm.
And when you get out of,
You have to decide what your bread and butter, and this is a business person to a business person. This all
And there's
aside,
a lot
my
of stuff that
suggestion
we-
is put the brakes on.
Yeah.
And don't just scoop it in off the front until you know, because that's just it. You didn't know.
but what we didn't, but I don't know how it went, but here's the analogy of probably, hey, I'm up in Kalispell, I got you some brakes for you guys to read my brakes, we get it down here.
Yeah.
They don't tell us, it's this oddball
right.
weird widget thing, I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
So now you've driven down here.
Yeah, yeah.
And we see this thing, we're like,
Sure,
we're not gonna
well-
waste time with this weird
Right.
ass thing, there's no
That's-
directions, who knows, we can't bleed it in 20 minutes like it normally takes.
Not an accurate analogy,
Now
though.
you drive down here.
But I'm in Missoula, it wasn't the case, and I talked to Craig for a long time about exactly what I had and what it was, and he even had links to it, and so it was all out there. I was as transparent as possible and very clear that this was not the Dick and Harry system, because guess what? I wouldn't have been here. You don't need a vacuum bleed for all the systems. Which I have now, by the way. I bought myself a compressor and a vacuum bleed, and I'm just gonna spend my time and do it meticulously now, and I firmly believe I'm gonna get the brakes done.
Sure.
So I would appreciate that if, like you said.
Yeah, Craig will,
Wanna
give
do
me
it
a card.
Yeah, okay.
Just refund his card. I guess the miscellaneous.
All right, Nate, thank you.